Thank you. We're going to start this out. John is going to give us some insight that we probably haven't even heard it before, right? No. Welcome, John.
Thank you, thank you. So as a director of Army operations, I pretty much manage the day-to-day operations in Colorado for the team that is ministering to you guys as you minister to others, right? So the member service specialist, John Romano, the communication specialist, Stephanie Johnson, our Army ambassador, Pastor Greg. We have a new position in Army now. It's called the Conferences and Events Coordinator. And so Jessica, she helped get us the booth here and get us the products. And she's really been instrumental, even in these local conferences, just helping us put on these local conferences, working with Denise and Dennis on scheduling and just helping us. I mean, so it's been really, and just so you know, your offerings and stuff that go to Andrew Womack Ministries, they help put these conferences on, because we don't want to be a burden onto the local church. So we help supplement, finance these, Andrew Womack Ministries. Andrew helps finance these regional conferences so that it's not a burden on the local church. So we have monies in our budget to be able to do that. And just so as you give, thank you so much from Andrew Womack Ministries and myself. And just, again, we've got a lot of great stuff going on in Andrew Womack Ministries. And so I'm going to give you guys some stuff that's hot off the press. Because this is the conference since it's been announced or it's been shared with the team. So Andrew, at our regional leaders event, or our leaders event in Colorado, he really gave us some clarity on vision. And he really wants to have our Army members, pastors, begin to engage more and carry an influence in the political realm, not necessarily in politics, but having a voice. We have 1,414 members as of this morning, 1,414 members. And just when you break 1,000, man, that one voice can reverberate through the country. And so we need to stand for righteousness. And we need to have an influence in politics and in education, and in local communities. And so this is Andrew's heart, to continue to build relationship. But as we build it relationship, let's move as one force, right, moving forward. So because of this renewed vision that Andrew's had, it's really brought a lot of visibility to Army. So we have been meeting with the CEO of Andrew Womack Ministries, Billy Epperhart, and he has said, listen, whatever you guys need for resources, we're going to resource you. Where are your weak spots? Well, we said our member management platform. We have no member management platform. You guys can probably all raise your hand, say, yes, I've called in, I've tried to communicate, and nobody calls me back. Right? Probably everybody in here, I see all the heads nodding. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Let me just apologize right now. I'm sorry. We don't intend that to happen, but we just got a small staff, and our membership platform is just, to be honest with you, it's awful. And so we've got resources now. Mark Matchin, one of our executive regional advocates, like Pastor D here, he has an IT company along with pastoring a church. And so he has been instrumental in helping counsel Billy and the team in Colorado to get a new membership management platform, and that should be rolled out, I would say, by the first of the year, 2024. It's going to take a little while. We haven't decided exactly on which one, but we got it narrowed down to one, I think. But it'll take us a little while to implement that, and then after that, our next goal, our next thing that we want to do is have more of an engagement, another platform that is more for engaging. One that we can have more like, almost like a Facebook feed, but on steroids, and really nice, that we can have training videos. We can have, we can have live seminars and those kinds of things for just different areas that interest our members, and that will be a blessing to our members. So, but all of that is going to take resources, and it's going to take primarily, manpower resources to be able to manage all of these platforms. Well, we have been told, listen, you guys are ARMI, and this should encourage you. ARMI is the new direction that Andrew Wommack Ministries is going. And so ARMI, do you think it's okay? So the way we are organizing ARMI is now, it's a legal covering called an Association of Related Churches. And so the Association of Related Churches, now we're going to, so basically, legally, ARMI will be the covering, the Association of Related Churches will be the covering for Andrew Wommack Ministries legally. So what that means is Andrew Wommack Ministries will now have more ability, more opportunity to be able to speak along political, stuff, hot topics in our society today, and not be able to be sued by the government or had their 501c3 taken away because they're actually a church. And I've learned a lot here in the last 6 months or so about churches. Yeah, and as churches, we are not taking advantage. If you have a church, you are not taking advantage of the liberties that you have from the pulpit as a church. You can speak out against any issue in our societal issue in our society today, and the government has no right to shut you down or tell you that you can't. Because you're a church, they have no right to tell you what to do. We as the church tell them what to do. Just like you as a people tell the politicians what to do, they don't tell you what to do. But they've messed it all up in their head because they've got power hunger. Well, I don't want to go down that. Okay. We're not going down that road right now. I do not have the time for it. So anyway, so we got a lot of great changes that are happening in ARMI. We have a lot of visibility now in ARMI. Visibility, when I say visibility, I mean by the leadership. And I'm talking Andrew Wommack, I'm talking Billy Epperhart, I'm talking all the executive directors that head all these different departments. They have been told, you are going to resource ARMI. So, hey, the horizon is beautiful right now. It really is. The future is great. And another thing is, I mentioned it yesterday a little bit. Pastor Greg graciously recommended me for the executive director. I did not accept the position. I told Andrew I can't take it because I'm moving. And they said, well, we still want you to please stay with us. We need you. We want you. We value you. And so, I didn't intend on going anywhere anyway. I still wanted to work. I just couldn't be in Colorado anymore, needed to be in their family. So I'm in Virginia. But we have found, and I can't go into too much detail, but we have found an executive director. And I'll just tell you, he's a great guy. Pastor Greg and I have met him. And he's going to really help ARMI to grow, not just here at the local level, nationally, but internationally. He has a lot of international experience, and he's going to be announced at the ministers' conference, at the coming ministers' conference. Andrew Wommack himself will announce that he's the new executive director. So that's like, what do you call that, a teaser? So there's your teaser. You got to make sure you are at the ministers' conference next month, actually about 3 weeks from now, in order to get the announcement hot off the press on Wednesday. So maybe you fly in for Wednesday and stay all day and fly back out Thursday morning. I don't know. But you'll get it hot off the press. It's going to happen then. So that's pretty much the latest updates. I just want to take a couple of minutes. I got a slide presentation here for you guys just to talk to members all over the United States. And you guys, you have so many resources through ARMI. And just not using them. And so I just want to give you a reminder of what resources that are available to you so that you can use them. They're excellent. So there's our tagline: building community, empowering ministers, advancing the kingdom. If you can go to the next one, guys. So remember, you get 4 free Charis courses a year. Husband and wives, you'll get 8 free Charis courses a year. Not a class. A class is 1 hour. A course is let me see, 8 hours. How many? 8 hours. 8 hours per course. So you get 4. So you get 32 hours of material that you, if you're a pastor or if you're a minister, and you know what, for instance, I've used this example many times. Let's say you're coming into the fall, people are talking about the flu and cold season, and you're getting commercials on TV. Well, man, teach on healing. Get on there and get some healing courses and teach and use that material, study it, make it your own, and teach it. Teach it to wherever you're ministering to. So you get 4 free Charis courses a year. If you can go to the next one, guys, and you should really utilize those. Here's some of those courses. Great, actually, I mean, one of the best that I know is that one on the bottom left there, that Fruit of the Spirit course, taught by this guy called Ambassador Greg. Yeah, but these are just some of the courses that you can get. You can go to the next one. You get free access to Andrew's living commentary. You know, that is, and if you, we've had a lot of people say, well, I'm having trouble getting into my living commentary. Just call the office or email the office, and they'll help you kind of coach you through. And I keep that living commentary on my tablet. It's up all the time. Because, you know, if I'm looking at a verse and I'm thinking, I think I have a revelation out, and I'm just like, you know what? Let me see what Andrew has to say about that. And so I'll just get in there and just read his commentary on it. You know, I talked to him just a little while ago, probably 4 or 5 months ago. I think he told me he had 33,000 scriptures that he's put a commentary on. So, and I think there's only 60,000 something in the. So it's awesome. So going on to the next one. So you get now I'll say something about this church directory. What we are doing, just so you know, you get your name on the church or ministry contact information at AWM, Andrew Wommack Ministries. They get on church directory. But I'll say this. Anybody who calls into the ministry, and pretty much, there's very little vetting on this part of it, gets on that church directory. But we are in the process right now, the team, our team, the ARMI team, is in the process right now of vetting an ARMI church directory. And when I say vetting, we are getting if you have a church, we are getting on your website, reading your doctrinal statement, finding out if you have a relationship with anybody that we know. And if you pass those qualifications, then we will put you on the ARMI church website. The ARMI church directory. So what that means is, if you have a church and you're an ARMI member, and let's just say you live in Orlando, and we go down for an Orlando GTC, and people stop by the ARMI booth and say, well, hey, you're a group of ministers. We want to get the same message that Andrew's preaching. Do you have a church close by here? Well, the ARMI churches are going to be the first ones promoted. Right? So that in itself is huge. That's worth your membership if you have a church. If you get one person a year to come to your church, that's a blessing. You get to minister to another person, but just from offerings and tithes would pay for your membership. So that's huge, really, to be on that and to be vetted and say, yeah, this is the real deal. So if you can go to the next slide. So you get 50% discount on Healing University and Biblical Worldviews, which are huge. 50%. Those are, I think, the Healing University is $500. I think so. You get it for $250, and then the Biblical Worldview, I think, is $250. Is that what it? $250, and you get that for $125. That's huge. Especially if maybe you're doing small groups or your church is doing small groups. These are the kinds of things that you can use as teaching tools for doing small groups and that kind of stuff. or doing your Wednesday night services. So those are awesome. Go on to the next one, please. Start Church. So we get discounts through Start Church. Now, I have personal experience. When I became the director of operations at ARMI a couple, 3 years ago, I thought, you know what? I have my own ministry, John Essy Ministries. I've had it since 1999. I incorporated it in 1999. And so I thought, you know what? And then it was probably about 2008 or so, I changed the name and sent all my founding documents to a lawyer, and he looked them over, and he tweaked them, got them up to, compliance. So then when I started with ARMI back in 2020, I think it was 21, I thought, you know what, I probably should just have Start Church. We get great discounts. I'll just, have them look at my founding documents. Oh my gosh, they rewrote them. No, seriously, they said, dude, we got to pretty much rewrite everything. So they helped me rewrite all of my founding documents to get me compliant for John Essy Ministries. And I'm telling you, that right there is, again, worth the price of your membership. The discounts that you're going to get through Start Church. And they change the laws every year. They add more laws to 501c3 compliance, church compliance. You almost need to do an audit on your founding documents about every 5 years to make sure you're compliant. Start Church is a great place for you to start and to help you do that. Yeah, please, here, use a microphone, Chris.
I've been told that Start Church, they have people that just all they do is research the tax code. I mean, they're on it. And sometimes when you do the 501c3 through them, a lot of times they don't even, they got such a good reputation for quality. So it's really, really good. And they love the Lord. That's what's so powerful.
Yeah, that's the absolute truth. They are the real deal. They love the Lord, and they want to help you. They want to help you. So you can go to the next one. So don't forget about Start Church. If you are a traveling minister, Scott and Nancy Hinkle, we'd call them, kind of like our traveling minister RAs, right? So if you're a traveling minister, you may be already if you're an evangelist, a prophet, a teacher, a missionary, you may already be connected to your local group like Pastor D or something like that, and that's fine. But, they can help you, like Scott and Nancy can help you navigate maybe through some issues, counsel you on generating support, on, how to, open up doors. Scott does stuff specifically geared, he does webinars specifically geared to traveling ministers. So if you're a traveling minister, you're a missionary, a prophet, evangelist, whatever, get a hold of Scott. You can get his number from calling into the office. Get a hold of Scott and get on his mailing list, if nothing else, so you can get some of the stuff that he is doing. It just will enhance your portfolio as far as leadership is concerned. Don't forget our ARMI newsletter. If you're not, I've talked to some people today about they have not, they aren't in the system. We, a little over a year ago, or about a year ago, we went from our old site to our new website. And in the process of our migration, of our membership migration, migrating them over to our new website, things just got a mess, to say it. We had some members they were dropped off, they didn't get migrated over. We just had a lot of issues. So if you've been having issues and you're not getting the newsletter, the monthly newsletter, or the emails, the announcements, first obviously check your junk mail. But after that, if you try to log on, you can't get on, just please call the office or send an email to the ARMI. Minister.org, and we can try to get your everything resolved for you and get you back up and running. So I think that's all I got. Oh no, this is a new slide I just added to the presentation. So along with what I said earlier about Andrew really wanting to have an influence in the community, particularly in politics and education and the 7 mountains, if y'all are familiar with the 7 mountains, right? So this right here, this is our Truth and Liberty website that is on the Andrew Womack Ministries. It's produced by Andrew Womack Ministries, Truth and Liberty, and you can see that QR code in the bottom, and maybe if you can go to the next slide, right there, that QR code in the bottom will take you to the pastor's resources page. And especially particularly as we come into the election cycle, This will give you resources to be able to educate people on the founding of our country. And help you to be able to articulate. You love that, don't you, Denise? So it'll help you, educate your people on how to vote and why we vote and those kinds of things. These pastoral resources stuff, I mean, they're huge. And you can read as much or as little as you want. And it's just a great resource for you. In fact, I would recommend that you get on your normal browser, you pull that pastoral resources up and save it so that you can reference. Right now you say, oh, I won't forget it. But you know what? When 6-8 months from now, when the election season kind of heats up, you're going to want to be able to have those resources in your back pocket. So when you get asked questions, let me just tell you a quick funny story about that. So this was back when when I was senior pastor of a church, and it was the election in 2016 when Trump was up for election. And I didn't have a permanent worship group. I knew a lot of people, worship leaders in the community, so I would rotate worship leaders through. So I had this one worship leader. She was a great lady. I won't say the name. And she brought her band in, set up, and she could flow really well. And her husband and her son was in the congregation. And so I got up on my normal Sunday and kind of just talking like I am right now. And I started to talk about the election coming up. But I said, listen, there's only just exactly what Pastor Greg said. I said, there's only there's one litmus test when you're going to vote. If they pass this one litmus test, then you can start moving to the other issues. And how do you align in those other issues? I said, it's this. If you don't respect life in the womb, they're never going to respect life outside of the womb. If I disagree with you, if you're going to murder me in the womb, you would certainly murder me if I disagreed with you as an adult or, somebody who. So when I said that, the worship leader's husband, he was about 4 rows back, stood up, started to yell at me and scream at me and in the middle of the service. Said, you have no right to tell people how to vote. I said, yes, sir, I do. And in fact, it's my obligation to tell people how to vote. And he screamed at me. He was nearly cussing. He was yelling at the top of his lungs, and he was a big dude too. He was probably 6'3". He got up screaming at me for a little while, and he stormed out of the church, and literally probably a minute later, his son stood up, shook his head, turned around and followed after his son was probably 16, 17 years old, followed out after his dad. Now, this is the worship leader's husband. Imagine what worship was like that morning. It was a little tight. It was a little awkward, maybe. The words we made it through, though. Praise the Lord, I was blessed. So I never had them back at church after that, regardless. So figure that out. Anyway, so this is important, though. This will help you, especially with this upcoming election cycle. This will help you to be able to just manage and field questions that maybe some of your people have with you. So go to the next one. I think that's all I got. Yep. Questions, comments. I think that QR code should take you right to our website if you want to get on the website. I think that's all I got. I'll tell you what, let's field right now as the guys are coming up. If everybody can come up, any Army specific, any Army questions right now that I can answer for you guys while our panel is coming up and getting ready. Any Army questions? Well, I'm going to be up here with the panel, so if you do think of any Army questions during that time, I will field them. Okay. Yes, sir.
I want you to tell me if I heard this correctly. We can say anything political that we need to say, or that we believe we should say, without fear of reprimand. Is that correct?
I'll say it this way. Go to that pastoral resources page, and they have specific direction on what you can say and what you can't say.
Well, my question then was, or is the Johnson Amendment no longer valid?
Oh, they have a whole thing on the Johnson Amendment.
Okay.
And it blows that whole that whole theory that the politicians are using to shut us down.
Right.
Yeah, they take that whole Johnson Amendment and rip it apart.
Excellent.
In one of these things on the pastoral resources.
Good.
Okay.
I'll look into that.
Yep. Anybody else before we get started here? Or just Army questions? Okay. So
let me just add to that. Okay, what Andrew? Okay, you guys know Andrew as a teacher, but Andrew also functions in the office of the prophet, and he's got a prophetic voice in this nation. And in fact, Dennis shared one of the things that, or maybe it was Denise, that God spoke to Andrew recently that by our anniversary of our nation, our 250th anniversary, that even some of the media and people they're gonna wake up to the woke movement and see that it's false, and there's going to be things turning around. And so we have to have a voice in society, but we're not, okay, just want to make this distinction. We are not developing a political action committee. Okay, that's not what we're about. We're gonna speak the word and the truth, and speak it boldly. And there are times though that when the prophet speaks, we need to mobilize an army, right, to rally behind and mobilize a church to accomplish his kingdom purposes. So this is just an exciting time to be alive, guys, and to be a part of something significant. Now, if you're part of being a part of ARMI doesn't exclude you being a part of any other group that you want to connect with. I mean, we love the body of Christ, but why wouldn't you want to be a part of ARMI? And if you're not, we just encourage you to check this out and join and be a part with us, because we definitely are looking for other leaders that will help us to network the body of Christ, other pastors, other ministers. We don't just have, this is not just for pastors. We have the traveling ministry arm of ARMI. So it's just a great fellowship, and it's never going to be. I spent 2 hours with Andrew in a van driving in the UK, finding out his heart and vision for ARMI. And it's never going to be about what we can do for ARMI. It's going to be, his heart is all about, is about building relationships, networking people. He wants to take what we had in the ministers' conferences in Buena Vista, and he wants to export it all over the world. And it's going to be about resourcing one another. It's about, everybody say, relationship, resourcing, and then mobilization, to advance the kingdom. That's what ARMI's about. If it ever became about the how many of you ever been a part of one of these and it became more about the organization? And if you gave a certain size offering, you could sit up on the front rows, and I mean, it's just anyway. But this is not that, and so we encourage you guys be a part of ARMI. You will be blessed, and so yeah, praise God.
Hey guys, I didn't mention this, but up on the table in the back there, there's member handbooks. Now the member handbook and the brochure look very similar, but the member handbook has in big bold white letters handbook on it. So if you're a member, it just gives you just some kind of guidelines to live by, I guess, as an ARMI member. And then if you want to, so that's the handbook, member handbook. If you want to talk to some of your pastoral friends, your friends that are in ministry about ARMI, you can take one of these brochures. It looks nearly identical, but it just doesn't say handbook on the front of it. And that brochure explains the benefits of ARMI, and it's just a nice tool that you can use to be able to promote ARMI at your churches or wherever. So we got Angela back there with the microphone. And so if you've got any questions, please be bold. I mean, just about anything you can think of related to church and ministry. There's a lot of great people up here, and go ahead and ask.
Yeah, and I just wanted to officially introduce Marcus Wick with Marcus Wick Ministries. He's a profitable prophet. I know some non-profit prophets, but he's a profitable prophet. He would be a blessing to your churches. And this is Chris Barhost. He's one of our executive regional advocates from Ohio, and you know the rest of us. And so we just this is just a time. Anything that's on your heart, okay? We don't want to scratch where you're not itching. But if there's any question you have about anything that we've shared, about the move of the Spirit, the gifts of the Spirit, or just anything else that you're dealing with in your churches or your ministry, there's a lot of experience up here that we may be able to help you. Now, if we don't know, I can answer that question with "I don't know," okay? Or we can. We're not going to tell you something, but we want to make ourselves available to you guys. And in fact, we prayed. John really had this idea: is that we just gave up our sessions today because we felt like that this would have more value. Yeah. Okay, so but it's not going to have any value if you don't ask the questions that are on your heart. And there are no dumb questions, okay? So, Dennis, you...
I have two dumb questions. I have two questions. One is, can you explain the difference between ARMI and Andrew's annual ministers meeting, or are they one and the same? That's number one. And could someone kind of explain the hierarchy of ARMI? You call someone an advocate and a regional director, and what's what and who's who?
Yeah, I'll answer the first one. I'll let John answer the second one. So Andrews always wants he doesn't want to, like ministers conference, it's not going to just be ARMI members. Anyone who's in ministry can come. But on Wednesday, we have ARMI Day that we just promote, ARMI, but we're never going to, if you're not a part of ARMI, you're never going to be treated like a stepchild, or that you're not valued. And so we 1 year or 2 years, I think they had an ARMI conference, and all the leaders got together and said, Andrew, we don't want to do that. Let's just have an ARMI Day during the ministers' conference. And so the distinction is you don't have to be a part of ARMI to be valued by Andrew and his ministry. But if you want to become more closely connected with Andrew's ministry, if you identify and resonate with the vision of ARMI, then we'd love to have you be a part of that. But that's simply kind of the way I would define it. And you can talk about how things are structured.
So talking about structure, just from the outward facing structure, not the org chart, the organizational chart that's within the team and ARMI. So we'll take it for us. Me as the director of ARMI operations, I would be like, if you're looking at an organizational chart, I would be like the top block. Of course, I have blocks above me, the executive director and those kinds of things. But from there, then there's the 5 regional, executive regional advocates. So the 5 executive regional advocates, we work together, the 6 of us, in ministering to the people that are out below. So under each executive regional advocate, there's 5 to 10 or 17 regional advocates. So there's 5 or 6 regional advocates that are underneath each one of those executive regional advocates. And just to Dennis's point, the executive regional advocates cover anywhere from 5 states to, like Dennis's case, 17 states. Do you have 17 states? So they kind of coordinate the regional advocates to help reach out to the communities. But then from the regional advocates, we have another level of leadership, which is our area advocates. And so the area advocates then minister to anywhere from 10 to 15 members. We don't like them to be over 15 members. So they're bringing connection and facilitating the coffee fellowships and relationships and those kinds of things. Those are really the area advocates, are the boots on the ground. They're the guys, working hard in the trenches. And then they're getting direction from the regional advocates. The regional advocates are getting direction from the executive regional advocates. The direction regional advocates are getting it from the operations director, and the operations director is getting it from the executive level at Andrew Wommack Ministries. I'll repeat it.
All right, very good. How far, you almost explained a lot. How far ARMI expanded so far outside of U.S.? What chances have other nation if I would like to start ARMI in Poland?
Okay, so
Poland, yes.
Woohoo, Poland. So we've launched officially in the UK. We have officially launched in the UK. We have unofficially launched. Chris has taken over. We have a lot of people in Canada, a lot of members in Canada, that they are crying out, we want ARMI, we want ARMI, we want ARMI. And we're like, we are not ready to launch. We're trying to get things at home, together. We're not ready to launch in Canada. And but Chris our executive regional advocate of the Northeast, which would be Chris Barhorse, couple of doors down. He's taken over Canada and tried to organize some leadership in Canada and get them on the mailing list, so they're getting the webinars, his own webinars that he does for his region. So I would say Canada is an unofficial announce, but we have ARMI representation in 31 different countries around the world, and they have just organically joined ARMI. We've not promoted it. In fact, we're basically trying to hold back the floodgates. Like we've got our thumb in the dike, hoping it doesn't, break the dam and we get flooded with members. So right now we're not ready because we just got so many administrative things that we need to get in order first. So to answer your question, our intentions are to launch internationally. I think, what was it, Pastor Greg? South Africa is going to be one of the next ones. And then Canada, Australia. So the 5 big nations that Andrew has a large influence in, and that we have Charis Bible College locations, those are probably going to be the first ones that we launch into. And then we're going to spread it out from there.
We have a Bible school in Poland, and so anywhere we have leadership, because it's really all about leadership. Okay, so wherever we have leaders that Andrew trusts, okay, we'll have more opportunity to launch something there, okay, internationally. But let me just give you 2 quick examples of the benefits of ARMI. But Bob and Mona Clark are sitting here, and you guys are in you're in Washington State. So Phil and what's Phil's wife's name? Melody. So Phil and Melody, I think it's Amini. Is that? They were drowning. They went through a kind of a mini or major, in their mind, crisis of church split. Okay, Bob and Mona helped them walk through. They were going to quit. They were going to throw in the towel. And Bob and Mona helped them walk through this challenge of, in their minds, it was the end. And man, and they're just doing such a great job today because there was someone there to help them through. And you guys just manifested Jesus to them, and just such a precious couple and precious ministry. We have a member in Plainview, Texas, and I was talking to Dennis and Terry about this because Dennis and Terry went through a similar thing. But Brad and Julie. Yeah, Brad and Julie Snellgrove. They pastored in a town of 15,000. They pastored a church of 1,500. Yeah, and they were there 26 years. They pastored the church for 13 years. 2 of the elders left. Their bylaws were not set up in order. New elders came in, and one of the elders had his great-great-great-great-grandfather was Absalom, and anyway, Absalom lived again, and he walked in. Brad walked into his church on a Monday morning, and they fired him. And they reached out to Janice and I, to Kevin and Melanie Casey in Texas, and I know there were some others. I think Marcus and Sharon helped them, and they were bleeding, dying, crying. They were devastated, and all, and so what do you do? And God brought them through a place of healing where they waited on God, but then it was just similar to Dennis and Terry, what they went through, and it was like, but the call of God to pastor and to shepherd in that area didn't leave, and now 6 months later, they birthed a church in Plainview, Texas. They started, and Janice and I were able to be there with them, and they started with 120 people. We were there and he asked me to preach. I said, no, sir, I am not going to preach. This is your church. We're here to endorse you. We laid hands on him, and he wept like a baby. He said, no one has ever done this for us, laid hands on us and endorsed us. And they are doing phenomenal. Guys, this is what ARMI's about. It's about helping people who go through stuff get healed, where we walk in the position of being a victor instead of a victim. And then you guys are all here to help us